Fucking diabolical. Welcome back to Aetheral Space. 17.30, Capricorn. We're back.
Fucking diabolical. Oh, I'm so excited. This is a big one. We've been waiting for Capricorn for God knows how long.
Yeah. We got, it was the start of this arc, and it got, hiatus and incorporated.
So before when it was an IF, was he always going to become a freaky spider thing?
Yes.
Or did that come later? Really? Okay. Yeah. All right. Excuse me. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Several years ago, at the very top of the Heart Building, a battle was ongoing. On one side, a master of the sword. In another, a beast in fierce armor. In a brief lull in the combat between Atoy Musashi and Ruth Blaine, Dragon Hadrian found himself looking up at the swordsman, and Musashi looked right back down. "Dragon Hadrian," the special officer said, "please don't worry. I know you're no traitor. Simply wait for me to dispatch these criminals, and I'll help you get this whole matter cleared up. Agreed?" A sense of sick relief came to Dragon, and an involuntary grin spread across his face. He wouldn't be killed. Musashi wouldn't kill him. It was as if a noose had been untied from around his neck. "Excuse me a moment," said Musashi, and then he turned in a flurry of movement, using his sword to block a series of blows from a suddenly appearing Blaine. She screamed in anger as she kept trying, claws coming down again and again from every possible angle. Dragon looked past her, back towards the entrance, and saw the cause of Blaine's fury. Skipper was slumped down next to the hole in the wall they'd come in from, clutching his side. Vivid red blood oozed between his fingers. Stab wound. The exchange went on. Musashi continued to block her attacks, his movements becoming faster and faster even as Blaine grew more weary. She would lose, it was obvious. She was operating on pure rage, strategy abandoned, and the pool of adrenaline she was drawing from was starting to run dry. And this was back when he was using fucking luminescence.
Yes.
Grunting from the exertion, Musashi battled away another of Blaine's swipes, and using the split-second opening that provided, he brought his sword up, clearly about to bring it back down on his opponent's head. Just as it had on the ship where they'd first met, Blaine's skeletal mask dissipated into red aether and was replaced by the seamless white helmet, the one that had sent Musashi flying. The swordsman smiled. Dragon's heart dropped. It was just what Musashi had expected, what he'd wanted. This was his chance for a killing blow. Musashi changed his stance in a second, and now his blow was coming in from the side towards Blaine's torso rather than down under her head. The sword flared with light, all of Musashi's aether flowing into it at once. It was like a supernova in motion. Blaine was wide open. She'd be cut in half. Dragon heard a soft gasp from beneath her helmet, and the sword came down. The fight ended in an instant. Blood sprayed across the floor, covering Musashi's face. Crimson aether crackled out of existence. As Dragon watched, a spattering of blood on his own cheek, Ruth Blaine fell to the floor. She fell to the floor in two halves. Slowly, Dragon Hadrian let out a shaking breath. His heartbeat was drumming in his chest. A hand that had been drifting towards the stun pistol fell back down limply. He blinked, and the sickly grin spread across his face once more. He was free. Aetheral Space, 17.30. Capricorn. Day 3. So wait, where was Bruno Serena during that?
They arrive after the fight.
Oh,
they went there in the big convergence.
Tamsin Halty took a deep breath. High above Ward 8, the artificial sunspot finally gave up the ghost, drowning the old district in its customary darkness. One by one, the Sealy Rangers activated the flashlights on their weapons and visors, cones of light sweeping over the area as they arranged their numbers in a circle facing outwards. The Vice Commander was still engaging that explosion user, keeping the battle at a safe distance, but everyone there knew that they were not alone. That voice, that presence, one could never hear it, feel it, and still think they were safe. Tamsin swallowed. He didn't regret coming here tonight. It had been an unsanctioned mission, to be sure, without the approval of the Supreme Commander or the Director, but it had been the Vice Commander asking them to come with him. The simple words he'd handed out still lingered in the back of Tamsin's skull. "I'll be reassured if I have you lads by my side." Nicholas Quicks wasn't like Supreme Commander One Star. He wasn't some inscrutable figure from another world, stoically leading them from the middle distance. It wasn't that Tamsin disapproved of One Star. He was a splendid leader and a splendid knight, but the fact remained that he was not one of them. The vice commander was Zepan, born and bred. He had grown up within its walls. He had trained himself in its service. Where the growth of most Seelie Rangers plateaued, leading them to resign themselves to the collective, the light of Aether had only continued to grow around Nicholas Quicks. It was the strength of his passion, the core from where his power flowed. Tamsin would follow that passion wherever it led him, so he didn't regret coming here tonight. No matter what happened, he had resolved himself not to regret it. He widened his eyes. "There!" he cried out. He could see the enemy in the distance, in the darkness, the new terror that had brought a chill down all attendant spines. It was just barely visible in the gloom, but what Tamsin could see made him sure he didn't want to see any more. It lingered at the edge of a building, staring at them. A tremendous height, at least 9 feet tall, spindly limbs far too long for that torso, wide eyes burning blue like the headlights of a car, a mouth overflowing with a grin of sharp steel fangs. A monster. "Engage!" Tamsin roared, raising his right arm for a Seelie gun, but he found himself unable. After all, his right arm had already been ripped clean off. Tamsin screamed hoarsely, falling to his knees, clutching the stump as it gushed blood. The monster had disappeared from his sight. As he fell fully to the ground, rolling onto his side, Tamsin could see where it had gone. In that split second, it had moved faster than he could see, maimed him, and kept going right into the middle of the squad. There it stood, holding his severed arm up as if in curiosity, uncaring of the danger even as dozens of rifles were pointed at it. Now Tamsin could see it properly. Now he could see it really was a monster. Whatever this was, at some point in the past, it had definitely been taken apart and crudely put together again. Its torso was twisted and asymmetrical, and the prosthetic limbs bolted onto its stumps were unnaturally long and multi-jointed, providing the creature with its terrible height. As it turned its head to regard Tamsin once again, metallic silver hair falling around it wildly, he could see that those blue lights he'd seen were not eyes. They were glass lenses, like the portholes of a submarine, fused directly into the thing's eye sockets, and from deep within them that eerie light flared, washing over the stitches and skin grafts of its ravaged face. The uneven metal fangs in its mouth, thin and sharp as needles, were so numerous that they were piercing through the skin of its cheeks, even as sheer quantity forced its jaws perpetually open. Blood dribbled down to the floor, mingling with that of Tamsin's stolen arm. "No!" the creature hissed, as if disappointed. "You're not the one!" Does it do capitalization backwards? Is the first letter always lowercase and the rest is capital?
It's really discordant.
Oh.
No. He's got a full monster voice.
It tightened its grip on his severed limb, nearly slicing it into pieces right there and then. This thing didn't have fingers, after all. It had blades, each digit long and sharp as a sword, all by itself. Tamsin could see a strange distortion to them, too, a rippling in the air. The blades were vibrating at an extremely high frequency, increasing their cutting power even further. Tamsin understood now, just from getting a proper look at this thing for a few seconds. As soon as it had noticed them, their defeat had been assured. This was something from a whole other world. The Rangers opened fire. It did nothing. The creature just stood there, pensive against their gunfire, plasma shots bouncing off of its aether-infused body. The thing had no nose. It had been torn away at some point in the past, but it took in a deep rattling breath through its nostrils all the same before speaking again. "None of you," it sighed, "are Dell said." It moves. A human died with each second of the creature's movement. It moved for 3, creating 3 shredded corpses in the natural execution of its existence. One headless, one dismembered, one eviscerated. The others had been struck too, brought down to the ground with less terminal, but no less gruesome injuries. Even as they were falling, the beast was already moving on to the next victim. The squad's rookie, Galahaster, screamed as the monster lunged for him. "Seelie shield!" gasped Tamsin Halty. The vice commander would not have allowed that boy to die. That was reason enough for Tamsin to do the same, arm or no arm. Tamsin was far too lowly to ever gain the attention of Nicholas Quicks, but if he could emulate his idol in even this small and futile way, that would be enough for him. His remaining hand, was shaking as he extended it, creating a Seelie shield that just barely managed to withstand the creature's laziest blow. With another bit of effort, it surely could have pierced right through it with those claws and butchered Galahaster. But it didn't. Instead, it slowly turned to look at Tamsin with those shining eyes of glass. Oh no! That's the worst thing he could have done! Before, this thing had seemed such an enigma that Tamsin couldn't have even begun to guess what it was thinking. But now, as it stared right at him, he could feel it without a doubt. An incandescent and utter rage. "Shield!" it growled. "Delsin! Slaughterhouse Capricorn!" It raised a set of claws up into the air, and as if in answer, the corpses it had left on the ground began to twitch and writhe. As Tamsin and the other rangers watched in horror, the blood began to evacuate those mangled bodies, moving through the air in 3 separate streams, flowing directly into the body of the creature itself. By the time it was done, only a few seconds later, all that remained of those corpses, of their comrades, were withered mummies.
No, the cryptoglobin.
It's fucked up. So is that what he did? Did he draw their blood out?
Well, yeah, that's the visual of it, yeah.
The monster sighed, flexing its body as the blood finished flowing into it. The metal of its limbs groaned, and veins swam under the surface of its skin like worms. Somehow, the pressure the rangers had been feeling from the beast seemed to increase just marginally. Did it just get even stronger? Tamsin thought. Despair was beginning to drift into his mind, born of his horrific injury.
And you look like just enough XP.
No! And the seemingly insurmountable obstacle before him, one that now seemed particularly intent on butchering him. But no. Despair was not a word a Seelie Ranger knew. Tamsin's suit had already staunched the bleeding, and automatically began injecting stimulants to counteract the shock. The missing arm was nothing but a flesh wound. At close range like this, Seelie gun would be fruitless. Tamsin Halty clenched his remaining hand into a fist. He closed his eyes for a moment and thought of Zepan. "Seelie Fist!" he roared, taking a swing shining with mingling peach aether and blue bioelectricity. This time the monster did not take Tamsin's arm. This time it simply stepped past him and, with a casual flick of a finger, opened up his stomach. A coldness took him, soaking into every cell of his body within seconds. This time the dignity of a fall to his knees was denied to him. He collapsed flat on his back, gasping silently, staring up at the black sky. When he looked down, he could see it. The thin, almost surgical cut in his belly, and the entrails hanging out of it. As it stood over him, a spindly monolith against the darkness, the creature raised its blood-dripping finger and sniffed it. Then it pressed its other palm against its throat, pushing hard as if trying to lodge its vocal cords back into place. There was a dull crunch, and when it spoke next, the creature's voice was far clearer to the ears, if still rasping and twisted. "No," it hissed. "Not Delsin, after all. Far too weak." Tamsin Halty did not know what this thing was. He did not know who Delsin was, but he understood his fate. He understood that he doomed himself to death the moment he decided to come here tonight. Bitter tears stung his eyes. He thought back to his friends, his family, all of those he'd sworn to protect when he'd become a Seelie Ranger. He thought of the crowded streets of Zepan. He thought of the vice commander and of his squad. Curiously enough, he did not think of the director even once. Somewhere out there, Pandershi's seething.
It was like,
doesn't know why.
Nyane, comfort me.
Nyane, why don't they love
Give me ice cream.
His hand hardened into its last resolve. If he was failing Zepan here by dying, then the least he could do was mitigate that failure as much as he could. The monster was stepping over him, advancing towards the rest of his downed squad. No doubt it thought Tamsin would just quickly die on his own after that wound. Tamsin would use that. Tamsin would use his life. Slowly, from both caution and weakness, Tamsin brought his hand to one of the grenades at his belt and began to infuse it with his weak peach aether, pushing the device to the maximum ordnance. He didn't know whether even this would do anything to the creature, but it was all he could do, and so he was doing it. He squeezed his eyes shut. "For Zepan!" He pulled the pin. "Gorgeous morning!" and an instant later found it snatched from his hand and flung into the distance. The monster glanced over as the grenade exploded high into the sky, producing a modest cloud of flames that surely would not have been enough to finish it. It looked back down at Tamsin, clearly deciding to finally finish the job, but before it could do so, a racket smashed into its face with the force of a sledgehammer. The damage was superficial, blood sprang out from its decaying stitches, but the strength of the blow was enough to send it sliding back across the courtyard, away from the squad. Slowly, Tamsin looked up. Ward 8 was plunged into darkness, but even so, the brilliant aetheral shroud of the man standing over him made a silhouette of his back. Nicholas Quicks had arrived in a literal flash. The vice commander spoke. "Tamsin Halty!" he roared, his infused voice packed with so much fury that the very air vibrated. "What do you think you're doing, my boy?" "The vice commander knows my name?" In Tamsin's fading consciousness, that was the only thing he could latch on to. Something like pride shivered in his chest. With a tremendous effort, he managed to move his corpse-numb lips. "Taking down the enemy, sir," he whispered, his voice faint. "No matter the cost. An act of sacrifice." Nicholas Quick's snort was sharp as a gunshot. "Such utter foolishness," he grumbled, still facing away from them all. "I've allowed you to be brought down by the enemy, and as if that wasn't bad enough, you now seek to compound my failure?" Tamsin's eyes widened fractionally. "Your failure? Who else could it belong to, Halty?" Nicholas said darkly. His gaze swept over the bodies. "Mark Hangman, Upen Paler, Van Lahire. 3 unforgivable failures, belonging to Nicholas Quicks alone. As Vice Commander of the Sealy Rangers, it is my charge to defend the citizens of Zipan. Why would you boys be exempt from that?" Tamsin blinked, and when he did, he found that he was crying. "Vice Commander," he choked, "I'll follow you to the ends of the earth." Nicholas glanced back at him, a smirk on his lips. "See that you do," he said softly, and then raised his voice into a tremendous bellow once more. "Those of you that can stand, do so, and treat those who cannot. If you can breathe, keep breathing until the very end. If you're bleeding, I demand you stop. This is a direct order from your Vice Commander. I will not allow a single one more of you to die." The Sealy Rangers had been battered, slashed, gouged, and yet, at their Vice Commander's words, more than half of their number rose to their feet. As they began treating the wounded, a portable med carrier being readied for Tamsin, Nicholas Quick strode forward to face their assailant. "As for this thing," he grunted, "leave it to me." Nicholas Quick... how about popcorn, actually?
Yeah, sure. Nicholas Quicks raised his racket, pointing at the monster before him. Challenge, accusation, condemnation. The gesture held them all. Here was no place to hold anything back. He suppressed the rage churning in his gut and spoke with as much dignity as he could muster. "My name is Nicholas Quicks, Vice Commander of the Sealy Rangers, sworn blade of Zipan. Should you possess even an ounce of reason, I demand you name yourself, or be treated as no more than a rabid beast." The creature's body contorted, leaning back so far that the top of its head touched the floor even as its legs remained standing. Slowly, with a series of sickening crunches, that head turned all the way around to face Nicholas upside down. A rattling breath trickled forth from its maw as mist as it regarded the Vice Commander. "Dragon Hadrian," it hissed. "Special officer of the Supremacy." Nicholas frowned. "The Supremacy? Their forces have already arrived?" Then he raised a hand. "No, that name and appearance. You're one of the copies of their Supreme, aren't you? The permutation ritual." The monster pulled itself back into a standing position with gruesome speed, wrapping its limbs around a nearby lamppost as it cocked its head. "Permutation. There was something about that. Yes, it doesn't matter. Capricorn. Call me that. Yes, I am Capricorn." Capricorn moaned with some indescribable emotion as it squeezed the lamppost, easily mangling it as if it were tissue paper. Then, some bizarre directive apparently complete, it slid off the pole and staggered fully into view. It almost seemed inebriated. "Yes," it sighed. "Permutation ritual. That's so good. It's like a dream." The blue light behind its lenses narrowed into thin slits. "Dulcet. Dulcet. Dulcet. Bruno Dulcet," it giggled. "If none of that was real, then he's still alive, right? I can go after him again and kill him again, right? There's still a reason to be alive, right?" "I'm so happy." Its head shuddered violently. So happy. It really is just like a dream." Nicholas wrinkled his nose in distaste at Capricorn's ramblings.
You're doing really good at that. You should just be Capricorn.
Sure. As you have wisdom enough to speak, Dragon Hadrian, he said firmly, I shall tell you this. My intent is to have my men evacuate this place safely. In exchange, you and I will engage in single combat. The shuddering stopped, and Capricorn flopped its head down to stare listlessly at Nicholas. When it spoke next, its voice was clipped and clear, a sudden form of composure that was somehow more unsettling than its earlier disjointed speech patterns. No, it said. I can't allow that. Nicholas stiffened up, Ava crackling around his body in preparation for the inevitable. Capricorn continued. Bruno Del said will definitely arrive here on Nermut. I need to gather as much strength as possible with Slaughterhouse Capricorn before that happens. I don't want any of you to leave this place alive. You seem to have misunderstood, Nicholas murmured. Capricorn cocked its head like a curious dog. That wasn't an offer, he growled. It was an announcement. After all, he flipped the racket in his grip. I owe you 3 deaths. The plan was simple. Right now, Nicholas was still in the gorgeous morning stage of his ability. He hadn't yet done enough cycles in this fight to activate that, so his best move would be to use Gorgeous Morning again to get in close, and then unleash a devastating attack the second he was free of its restrictions. The fact that his first strike had sent Capricorn flying, and drawn blood, meant that such a manoeuvre could work. The second before Nicholas could execute it, Capricorn suddenly snapped its head up once more, not facing him or his men, but instead some distant point on the horizon. It sniffed the air. Electricity flicked between its countless metal fangs like saliva. That Aether, it moaned. Oh, that Aether. The lights of its eyes narrowed once again. It's me!
Is there any chance... Sure. Is there any chance Capricorn is an awakening of some sort?
I would say maybe not.
I'm wondering what's up with his eyes then, why it's like glowy instead of eyes.
Well, he's got like lenses and like fused into his eye sockets instead of eyes.
It's freaky. Halfway across Ward 8, on their way to the secret tunnel, Brother Worm was doing his best to treat Rayansh Patel's wounds, and Rayansh Patel was doing his best to resist. Leave me, he insisted, even as Brother Worm supported him with one arm. I'm slowing you down. The Seelie Rangers, Narorihion, that other thing. One of them will catch up. When Quix and Narorihion had been startled by that baleful presence, Rayansh had taken the opportunity to retreat. But now that he'd been robbed of the adrenaline of battle, his body had started to fail him again. He could barely even move his legs, and it was taking everything he had just to keep hold of the knife in his numb hand. A small lump slowly moved up the skin of his cheek, one of the insects in his body searching for a new home. Even with his lamentable state, though, Brother Worm was not deterred. He was holding his palm out, letting a steady stream of tiny blue fish flow into Rayansh's body. It wasn't a major use of Aquarius Covenant, but he was basically shoring up Rayansh's physical condition in exchange for his own stamina. I'm not leaving you, Worm replied sternly, a thin sheen of sweat clinging to his skin. If you want us to leave quickly, then let me heal you. Then we'll join Hazley outside. Together. Before stopping to heal Rayansh like this, Worm had told Hazley to go on ahead of them, and she'd shown the exact same stubbornness he was showing now. In the end, though, she had gone. As skilled as she had become from the memories of Lucifer Westmore, the fact remained that she was aetherless. With monsters converging in Ward 8, she was no different from the crumbling buildings all around them. There, Worm said, closing his hand and cutting off the flow of fish. Now! Both of them looked up, and both of them felt an identical horror. At first, it looked like a massive explosion of dust had burst out from the site of the distant battle. But no. That was a trail. Something very fast and very strong was bulldozing right through the city, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. And that thing was beelining straight for them. Run! Worm went to say. Leave me! Rayansh went to insist. But before either of them could so much as finish a syllable, the chaos was upon them. The destruction suddenly tapered off, clouds of dust washing over them as a sheer tide. Worm and Rayansh braced themselves as they were buffeted by Grey. There was silence only for a moment before it spoke. I can smell you, it whispered in the dark. I can hear you, it whispered in the dust. And I can see you, it whispered right into Worm's ear. He looked up, and saw a pair of bright blue lights staring down at him. Oh, he thought. Oh, why? What's that from? Hold on, I recognize that.
It's basically saying, oh god.
Oh God. Oh, this poor boy. Is he gonna make it?
Capricorn is heading to your location at extremely fast speed.
Oh, no. Not my boy. Couldn't be precious worm. I'm gonna miss him when he's gone. Lan asks, which AS character would you want to hang out with? Skipper, you can answer as well.
Well, I made these guys. I don't know if I want to necessarily hang out with most of them.
Do you like any of them?
I like them well enough, but I don't think I'd be safe, is the main concern.
The thing is, most of them are a little too weird and unstable.
Imagine if I said nine. Fate worse than death in 0.2 seconds.
I feel like Muzazi and I would get along as fellow autistic.
I feel like Muzazi's probably the safest person you could get.
I feel like Ruth also, after all her stuff, is surprisingly well adjusted. Maybe Serena would be funny, but I feel like the average Aether character, villain or hero, is just too fucking mentally unstable to, like, sit down and be like, so do you want to, like, get something to eat?
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, I have to go kill the most...
Wait, coin flip, Nine might actually just do that, though.
Yeah.
Or he might unleash the horrors.
You want to go on a date with me? Visual novel where you have to date Nine, but
he might do it for the bit for a little bit, yeah.
I guess that would be nice.
Have some bugs.
Here's a question from me to you. Has Nine ever had a partner before? Has he ever dated? Oh.
He does not consider
Is he
anyone...
ace, or is he just like, he can't date anyone because he's too strong?
I'd say he's a little gay boy, but I also don't think he considers anyone like worthy of
Wait, has
him.
he ever had a crush on anyone?
No.
Oh.
That sort of thing requires you to think yourself as like below another person in some way. If to have a crush
Does
on
it?
Them. To have a crush on them, I would say.
Interesting.
I would say a crush is like inherently looking up at someone or idealizing someone as being good or better.
Has he ever been attracted to someone then?
Sure.
Yeah.
But like only a little bit, probably.
Only a little bit. He thought about Pandershi for a moment, and then Pandershi opened his mouth.
He was like, yeah, maybe
Never
not.
mind. I like to imagine he was attracted to Samuel Rhodes and he changed him and he was like, never mind, I ruined it. No good. Lan asks, was Pandershi around when Henry was supreme?
He would have been a kid at the time, I would say.
Interesting. So 1-star's like fucking old.
He is, yeah. He's got that surgery where the hands are really old, but the rest of them isn't.
Rurum asks, which AS character would you want to make out with? Skipper, you can answer as well.
Interesting.
I feel like my answer would still be Ruth or Serena, or maybe Muzazi. So yeah, basically the same 3 people.
Well, let's see. Let me think about it.
Unchanged.
The 6 dead. No, not 6 dead. She'll bite your fucking tongue off.
Yeah, it's
She'll
true.
give you the Resi special.
You unfortunately made all the hottest characters the biggest.
Insane,
freaks. Yeah. Oh.
Maybe Narari. No, he'll fucking kill me.
Narari, yo, let's go. Guardian Entity, the smoocher.
He was a little bit zesty last chapter, so maybe.
Tan gay icon. I'm proud of you. Or I guess Narari owns it. What does that count as?
I don't know. Maybe is that masturbation?
No, I don't know. I know some people actually use it pronouns, so I don't know. So someone tell us who's more aware of that thing before I put foot in mouth. Alright, last one. Lan asks, who tasked the original Vantablacks with assassinating the 3 wise men and why?
I would say it would have been like one of the countries in the plant systems in the governing council at the time, and they're probably not in there anymore because it went tits up and didn't happen. And everyone was like, you almost fucking started like the end war, you fucker.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, and I think there we'll cut it off, Tan. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.